The transport ships arrived on a Tuesday morning, casting long shadows across the Nevada desert where Earth's main receiving station stood. Commander Sarah Chen watched from the observation deck as 6 massive Valorian cargo vessels descended through the clouds. Their hulls gleamed silver in the sunlight, beautiful and pristine. But they carried inside was anything but. "Here comes our annual charity," muttered Marcus Webb, standing beside her. He was her chief engineer, a thin man with permanently oil-stained hands and eyes that never stopped analyzing everything around him. Sarah said nothing. She just watched as the ships landed and their cargo doors opened. Robotic loaders began hauling out the contents. Twisted metal beams, cracked hull plating, burnt-out fusion cores that looked like they had been dead for decades, broken weapon arrays with their barrels melted, navigation computers with shattered screens. All of it was junk, all of it was trash from a dozen different alien species. Ambassador Thexner materialized beside them. He was Valorian, tall and blue-skinned, with 4 arms that moved in ways that always made Sarah uncomfortable. His translator device crackled as he spoke. "Humanity should be grateful," Thexner said. His voice carried that particular tone of condescension that Sarah had learned to recognize over the past 15 years. "The Galactic Council has once again provided your species with technological aid appropriate to your current development level." Sarah turned to face him. "You mean garbage?" "I mean components," Thexner corrected smoothly. "Decommissioned, yes, but functional. Enough for a species that only achieved faster-than-light travel 20 years ago. The Council is generous to share even this much." Marcus leaned forward. "This is from 6 different species: Kren, Valorian, Talaxian, Fodek, Drexel, and something I do not recognize." "Observant," Thexner said. "When we decommission our warships, we salvage what has value and dispose of the rest. Earth receives the disposed materials. You should be able to build several adequate patrol craft from this shipment." "Several patrol craft," Sarah repeated. She looked back at the growing mountain of scrap metal outside. "From 6 advanced species worth of military surplus." "Precisely." Thexner smiled, showing too many teeth. "In another century or 2, perhaps, humanity will be ready for actual Council-grade equipment. Until then, make good use of what you have been given." He walked away, his forearms swinging in that unsettling rhythm. Sarah watched him go, her jaw tight. "I hate him," Marcus said quietly. "I know, no, I mean I really hate him. 5 years ago, when the colony on Titan was attacked by raiders, we called for help. The Valorian peacekeepers were 2 hours away. You know what they did?" Sarah knew. Everyone knew. They said it was not their jurisdiction. 1,800 people died while they sat in orbit and watched. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. "And now they drop their trash on our planet and call it charity." They stood in silence for a moment. Outside, the pile of scrap metal grew larger. It looked like a metallic mountain now, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Completely worthless, completely useless. Or was it? Sarah felt something shift in her mind. An idea. Crazy, impossible, probably stupid idea. She turned to Marcus. "How many species did you say this came from?" 6, maybe 7 if I am wrong. "About one of the drive cores. And each species has different technology, different approaches to shields, weapons, power systems, all of Right. Marcus looked confused. So they Valorians think we are too primitive to do anything meaningful with this. They gave us parts that do not work together because they assume we cannot make them work together. We cannot crin energy. Shields use biometric interfaces. Valorian weapons need plasma feeds that Talaxian power cores cannot provide. Fodec phase metal requires quantum stabilization that none of the other tech supports. It is all incompatible. Sarah smiled. It was not a nice smile. Incompatible by their standards. Marcus stared at her. She could see his brain working, racing through the possibilities. His eyes went wide. You cannot be serious. Why not? They gave us cringe shields, Valorian guns, Talaxian computers, Drexel propulsion, Fodak hull materials. What if we stopped trying to use them separately and started using them together? That is insane. No species has ever successfully integrated alien tech like that. The power requirements alone would he stopped. Wait, human manufacturing processes are different. We use different metals, different welding techniques, different programming languages. What if that is exactly what we need? What if we took all of this junk, Sarah said slowly, and built one ship instead of several patrol craft? One ship that combines technology from 6 different species in ways they never imagined. Marcus was quiet for a long time. Outside, the Valorian transport ships were taking off, their job complete. They would return to the stars, confident that they had done their duty. To the primitive humans, confident that humanity would remain exactly where the Council wanted them. Weak, dependent, and grateful. It would take years, Marcus finally said. We would need resources, a facility, a crew that could work with alien technology, and we would have to do it in secret, because if the Council found out, they would shut us down immediately. I know an old orbital facility, Sarah said, built during the Mars expansion. Abandoned when the funding ran out. It is off the official logs. We could work there. You are really serious about this? I am tired of being treated like children, Marcus. I am tired of watching them look down at us. I am tired of patrol craft and gratitude and knowing our place. She looked at him. 15 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council as a third-tier species. We are still a third-tier species. Nothing has changed. Nothing will change unless we force it to change. Marcus looked at the scrap pile, then he looked at Sarah, then he started to smile. It was the same kind of smile she had given him. Not nice, not safe, but full of possibilities. We would need a team, he said, engineers who think outside the box, people who are not afraid to break rules, probably some folks that Council has already dismissed as troublemakers. I know exactly who to recruit and a name. If we are going to build the impossible, it needs a name. Sarah thought about it. She thought about humanity's history, about all the times they had been told something was impossible and had done it anyway, about flying too close to the sun and doing it with a smile, Icarus rising. She said. Marcus laughed. The aliens will not get the reference. That is exactly why it is perfect. They stood together, looking at the mountain of scrap metal that was supposed to keep humanity in its place. But Sarah did not see trash anymore. She saw components. She saw possibility. She saw the beginning of something that would make the Galactic Council regret their condescension. They had given humanity scrap metal and expected gratitude. They were going to get a revolution instead. The abandoned orbital facility hung in space like a forgotten dream. Station Prometheus had been built 20 years ago during humanity's ambitious push to colonize Mars. The funding had dried up halfway through construction. Now it floated in a dead orbit between Earth and the Moon. Too expensive to finish and too massive to decommission. Its existence had been quietly removed from official records, which made it perfect. Sarah stood in what would have been the main engineering bay, watching as the first shipment of scrap arrived. Space was enormous, big enough to hold 3 cruise ships side by side. The walls were bare metal, the air recyclers coughed and wheezed, and half the lights did not work. It was home. First load is here, Marcus announced, floating through the zero gravity with natural ease. Behind him came 6 containers, each the size of a bus, guided by magnetic tethers. I started with the most promising pieces: Kryn shield generators, Valorian weapon arrays, and something interesting I found in the pile. Interesting how? See for yourself. They opened the 3rd container. Together, inside, nestled in protective foam, was a sheet of metal that seemed to shift colors in the light. One moment it was silver, the next it was deep blue, then it was almost translucent. Fodak phase metal, Marcus said. Reverently, the Fodak use it for decorative purposes. They think it is pretty but useless. They are wrong. Sarah reached out to touch it. The metal felt warm under her fingers, almost alive. Wrong how? The Fodak never figured out that phase. Metal can bend space if you hit it with the right energy frequency. They use it for wall panels and art. We could use it for hull plating that makes us partially intangible. You can do that? I think so, maybe. Probably. I need to run about 1,000 tests first. Marcus grinned. But yes, I think we can make it work. Over the next 3 months, the team grew. Sarah recruited carefully. She wanted engineers who had been dismissed by the council as too radical, too unconventional, too human. She wanted people who looked at rules and saw suggestions. She wanted troublemakers. She got them. Jin Park arrived first. She had been fired from 3 different council research positions for unauthorized experimentation. She took one look at the Kryn biointerface shield technology and laughed. They said this was impossible for non-Kryn species to use. They were right. But they never tried using a neural bridge instead of a direct connection. Next came Dmitry Volkov, a weapon specialist who had been banned from council facilities for dangerous innovations. He examined the Valorian plasma cannons with the care of an artist studying a masterpiece. These are designed to fire in 3-second bursts to prevent overheating. What if we do not care about overheating? What if we use them until they burn out, then swap in fresh ones? That is wasteful, Sarah said. That is human, Dmitry replied. The aliens build for efficiency and longevity. We build for results. There is a difference. The team assembled 20 engineers, 30 technicians, a dozen programmers who specialized in making incompatible systems talk to each other. They came from Earth's slums and Mars's failed colonies. They came from stations that had been abandoned and ships that had been scrapped. They were humanity's outcasts, and they were perfect. Real work began. Problem, Jin announced during the Third week, the Kryn shields need a biometric interface, the Valorian. Weapons need plasma conduits that the Talaxian power cores cannot support, and nothing in this pile can provide the quantum stabilization needed for the phase metal, so we improvise. Marcus said he had been awake for 36 hours, straight, living on coffee and determination. Human neural interfaces are different from Kryn biology. Let us use that. We design a bridge system that translates human brain patterns into something the Kryn tech can understand. That has never been done. Correct, it has never been done by Kryn engineers. We are not Kryn. They worked in shifts around the clock. The station's corridors echoed with the sounds of welding torches and argument. Languages mixed together, Earth English, blended with Mandarin, blended with Russian, blended with Arabic. The team came from everywhere and they brought their different perspectives with them. Look at this, Dmitri called out one morning. He had the Valorian weapons laid out on a table, their internal components exposed. The plasma feeds are designed for steady flow. But what if we pulse them? Quick bursts of overloaded energy instead of constant streams. The weapons would burn out in minutes. Jin said, yes, but for those minutes they would hit 3 times harder than any council warship could manage. Dmitri smiled. And we have extras. The breakthroughs came slowly, then all at once. A programmer named Hassan figured out how to write bridge code between 7 different alien programming languages. Material specialist named Chen discovered that human steel alloys could be welded to photic phase metal using a technique no alien species had ever tried. A power systems engineer named Rodriguez found a way to overclock the fusion reactors far beyond their rated capacity. This is not safe, Rodriguez admitted, showing Sarah the power flow diagrams. The aliens designed their reactors to run at 60% capacity maximum. It gives them a huge safety margin, but humans have different risk tolerance. What if we run them at 95%? What happens at 95%? Either we get 50% more power output, or the reactor goes critical and we all die. Sarah looked at the numbers, and at what percentage can you guarantee safety? Guarantee maybe 40%, but that is boring. Rodriguez shrugged. I did not leave Earth to be boring. 6 months in, they had the basic frame. It did not look like any ship humanity had ever built. It did not look like any ship the Council had ever built either. The hull was photic phase metal, shimmering and strange. The interior was a maze of incompatible technologies, forced to work together through human ingenuity and stubbornness. The power cores hummed with barely contained energy. The weapons arrays looked like they had been designed by someone having a fever dream. It was beautiful. We need to test the power systems, Marcus said. They had gathered in the main control room, such as it was. Monitors covered every wall, each one showing different ship systems. Most of the readouts were in alien languages that the team had learned to read through necessity. Do it, Sarah ordered. The lights dimmed as power flowed through the ship for the first time. For a moment everything held steady. The fusion cores spun up. The plasma conduits glowed. The phase metal hull began to shimmer with internal light. Then everything exploded, not literally, but every system went haywire at once. The shields activated and deactivated. Randomly, the weapons charged without being told to. The navigation computer started calculating jump coordinates to random points in space. Alarms screamed. In 6 different alien languages, the whole ship convulsed like a living thing. In pain, "Shut it down," Sarah yelled. "I am trying." Marcus had both hands on the control panel, frantically typing override codes. The systems are not responding. They are fighting each other for control. Fighting each other. The Kryn tech thinks it is in charge. The Valorian systems disagree. The Talaxian computer is trying to arbitrate but using the wrong protocols. They are all trying to run the ship their own way. It took 20 minutes to shut everything down. When the last system finally went dark, the entire crew stood in shock. Silence. 6 months of work. Thousands of hours of engineering, all of it useless if the technologies could not cooperate. "This will not work," Jin said quietly. "No," Marcus said slowly, "not like this." "But what if we stop trying to make them cooperate?" "What do you mean?" "The aliens build integrated systems. Everything works together smoothly. Because everything is designed to work together, we cannot do that. We have 7 different species worth of technology, all of it incompatible. What if we embrace that? You are not making sense." Marcus turned to face them, and his eyes were wild with inspiration. "What if we design an AI that can manage controlled chaos? Instead of making the systems work together, we let them fight and use an AI to balance the fighting. Quick adjustments, constant monitoring, using the conflicts between systems as a feature instead of a bug." Sarah understood immediately. "We need Dr. Yuki Tanaka, who best AI specialist humanity has produced. Also completely insane, the council banned her work because her adaptive learning systems were too unpredictable." Sarah smiled. "Perfect for us." They brought Yuki up on the next shuttle. She was a small woman with gray-streaked hair and eyes that saw patterns no one else could perceive. She took one look at their setup and laughed. "You have built a nightmare," she said. "I love it. Can you make it work? Can I make incompatible alien technologies cooperate through an adaptive AI, managing their mutual hostility?" Yuki considered. "No, but I can make something better. I can make an AI that turns their fighting into a weapon. This ship will not think like a council vessel, it will think like a human. Improvise, adapt, overcome, turn every weakness into a strength. How long will that take? Give me 3 months. She took 4, but it was worth it. When they powered up the ship the second time, the chaos was still there. But now it was controlled. The AI danced between systems, balancing power flows, directing conflicts, turning the ship's fundamental instability into something that looked almost like grace. The ship lived. They called it Icarus Rising, and it was ready to fly. The ship hung in the construction bay like a metallic predator. After 9 months of work, Icarus Rising had a shape now. Not sleek like Valorian cruisers, not organic like Kryn bioships. It looked like what it was, a fusion of 6 different species technology forced into an ungainly hull. The hull plates did not quite match. The weapon arrays jutted out at odd angles. The engine nacelles were different sizes. It was the most beautiful thing Sarah had ever seen. Final hull integrity check complete. Marcus reported from his station. The engineering bay had grown crowded with monitors and equipment. Phase metal plating is holding steady. The quantum fluctuations are within acceptable ranges. Acceptable by whose standards, Sarah asked. Ours by council standards. We are operating at impossible levels. Phase metal is maintaining a coherence that FODAC engineers said could not be achieved outside laboratory conditions. Jin floated past, guiding a bundle of bioneural cables. The shield interface is ready for integration. I have adapted the Kryn biometric system to accept human neural patterns. It should work probably. Science is not about certainty, Commander. It is about educated guesses and seeing what explodes. The work continued. Every day brought new challenges. Talaxian navigation computer kept trying to calculate jumps using outdated star charts. The Valorian weapons required cooling systems that did not exist in the original designs. The Drexel propulsion units vibrated at frequencies that threatened to shake the ship apart. They solved each problem the human way, with improvisation, duct tape and sheer stubbornness. Then came the inspection. Commander Chen, this is ground control. The communication crackled to life. One morning, be advised, Galactic Inspector Xyloth will be arriving at your location in 6 hours for a routine facility. Jeku. Sarah's blood went cold. Say again. Inspector Xyloth, standard audit of human space facilities. You are required to provide full access and cooperation. Marcus appeared at her shoulder. We cannot let him see the ship. I know 6 hours is not enough time to move it. Even if we could, there is nowhere to hide something this size. I know that too. They had prepared for the scenario, but preparation was different. Yuki activated the holographic projectors they had installed throughout the facility. Icarus Rising disappeared, replaced by the images of 3 standard human corvettes in various stages of construction. The corvettes were fake, generated by Yuki's AI, but they looked real enough on sensors. Will it fool him? Sarah asked. Depends on how closely he looks, Yuki replied. The holograms will show up on basic scans. But if he uses deep penetration sensors or comes in for a visual inspection, we are in trouble. The next 6 hours were spent in controlled panic. They cleared away any components that did not match the fake corvettes. They programmed false readouts into all the monitors. They hid anything that looked too advanced or too alien. The entire crew moved with practiced efficiency. But Sarah could see the tension in every face. Inspector Xyloth arrived exactly on time. His shuttle docked with the station, and he emerged with the air of someone performing a tedious duty. He was Kethrian, which meant he looked vaguely reptilian, with scales that changed color based on his mood. Right now they were aboard Gray-Green. Commander Chen, he said, his translator rendering his hissing speech into flat English. I am here to verify that humanity's space facilities are being used appropriately and safely. Of course, Inspector, Sarah said, forcing herself to smile. We are honored by your visit. Honored, yes. Xyloth's scales flickered with amusement. Let us proceed with the inspection. I have 7 other facilities to visit this week. They showed him the living quarters first, then the supply depots, then the recycling systems, and air processors. Xyloth examined everything with professional boredom, making notes on a data pad and asking occasional questions. Sarah answered them carefully, always truthful, never quite revealing the whole picture. And the construction bay, Xyloth asked. Finally, this was the moment. Sarah led him to the observation deck that overlooked the bay. Below them, the three holographic corvettes sat in their cradles looking perfectly ordinary and perfectly human. 3 Corvette-class vessels, Sarah explained. We are using the components from the Council's last shipment to build patrol craft for system defense. Xyloth studied the ships below. His scales flickered through several colors: gray, green, a hint of blue. Sarah's heart hammered in her chest. Could he tell? Was the hologram failing? Adequate, Xyloth said finally. Primitive but adequate for your species' current needs. The Council will be pleased that you are making appropriate use of the provided materials. Sarah allowed herself to breathe. Then Xyloth turned to her and his scales flashed orange. However, I'm detecting some unusual energy signatures, power fluctuations that seem excessive for standard Corvette construction. Would you care to explain? Marcus stepped forward smoothly. Yes. We have been experimenting with overclocking our fusion reactors, trying to squeeze a bit more efficiency out of them. Overclocking, Xyloth's scales deepened to orange-red. That is dangerous. Council safety protocols specifically prohibit such practices. With respect, Inspector, we are human. We have different safety tolerances than Council species. Different tolerances or different regard for safety. This was going wrong. Sarah could see it spiraling out of control. She needed to change the subject, redirect his attention. Anything to keep him from looking too closely. Inspector, she said quickly, I have heard that Kethrians have an appreciation for fine liquors. We recently received a shipment of Earth whiskey, rare stuff aged for 50 years. Would you care to try some? Xyloth's scales shifted, considering. The orange faded back to green. That would be acceptable for diplomatic purposes. They retired to Sarah's office. She poured the whiskey. It really was 50 years old, saved for special occasions, and watched as Xyloth took a cautious sip. His scales rippled through several colors before settling on a pleased blue-green. This is excellent, he admitted. Earth may be primitive in many ways, but your fermentation techniques are remarkable. Thank you, Inspector. They talked for an hour about everything except the ship. Sarah played the role of the humble human commander, grateful for counsel, guidance, eager to learn from superior species. She hated every moment of it. But she smiled and nodded and poured more whiskey. When Xyloth finally left, his scales were a warm blue and his data pad contained nothing but routine observations. The inspection was complete. They were safe for now. That was too close, Marcus said when they were alone. Again, if he had used deep sensors, if he had asked to see the ships up close. But he did not, Sarah said. Arrogance saved us. He expected to find exactly what he found because he cannot imagine humans building anything more advanced. The next inspection might not go so well. Then we better be ready to fly before the next inspection. But being ready to fly and actually flying were two different things. 3 days later, they attempted their first power-up test with all systems integrated. Sarah watched from the control center as Marcus ran through the startup sequence. Fusion cores online, Marcus reported. Power at 30% and rising, 40%, 50. Ship hummed with energy, so far so good. Shield generators activating. Weapon system standing by, navigation. Computer synchronized, keep going. Sarah ordered 70% power, phase metal. Hull beginning quantum stabilization. 80%, 90, then everything went wrong. Again, the ship lurched sideways. Throwing sparks, alarms screamed. The phase metal hull flickered between solid and translucent. The weapons charged spontaneously. The shields pulsed in random patterns, full. System failure, someone yelled. No. Yuki said calmly from her station. Not. Failure learning, what? The AI is learning how to balance the systems. Let it work, we are losing hull integrity on sections 3 through 7. Let it work. Sarah made the hardest decision of her command career. Stand down, let the AI handle it. The crew stared at her like she had gone insane, but they obeyed, and as they watched, something remarkable happened. The chaos began to resolve itself. The AI made millions of micro-adjustments, balancing power flows, redirecting energy, finding harmony in the discord. The hull stabilized, the weapons powered down, the shields found their rhythm. After 5 minutes, the ship was purring like a contented cat, system stable. Marcus reported, wonder in his voice. All readings nominal, better than nominal actually. We are operating at levels that should not be possible. The AI needed to learn the ship under stress, Yuki explained. Now it knows. Now it can compensate. This ship will never fly smoothly like a council vessel, but it will fly effectively like a human vessel. There is a difference. Sarah looked at Icarus rising through the observation window, the ship that should not exist. The ship built from 7 species. Trash, the ship that had just proven it could work. How long until we can attempt a flight test, she asked. 2 weeks if we are lucky, Marcus said. 1 month if we are realistic. 6 months if we want to be safe. We have been working on this for almost a year. I am tired of safe. Get it? Flight ready in 2 weeks, Commander. 2 weeks, Marcus, because I just received intelligence that makes waiting impossible. Sarah pulled. The test flight nearly killed them all. Sarah strapped herself into the command chair, feeling the neural interface. Connectors press against the back of her neck. The bridge was small, cramped, filled with jury-rigged displays that showed readouts in 6 different alien languages. Marcus sat at engineering. Jin handled shields and sensors. Dimitri controlled weapons. Yuki monitored the AI. 20 other crew members occupied stations throughout the ship. All personnel secured, Marcus reported. Fusion cores at optimal power. This is either going to work or create a very impressive explosion. Comforting, Sarah said. Yuki, is the AI ready? The AI is ready. Whether we are ready for the AI is a different question. That is also comforting. Everyone take a breath. Here we go. Thrusters to station. Keeping, the ship shuddered. Small maneuvering thrusters fired, pushing Icarus rising away from the docking clamps. For a moment everything held steady. The ship drifted clear of station Prometheus, turning slowly. The darkness of space. So far so good, Jin said. That was when the hull plating started falling off. Not all of it, just 3 panels. From the port side, they tumbled away, spinning lazily, revealing the internal structure. Beneath, alarms blared, red lights flashed across every console. Hull breach, Marcus shouted. Sections 12 through 14 exposed to vacuum. Those sections are empty storage, Yuki said calmly. No personnel at risk. That is not the point. The hull is literally falling apart. Sarah gripped her armrests. Can we stabilize it? Working on it. Yuki's fingers danced across her controls. The phase metal was not properly aligned. The quantum bonding failed under thrust stress, adjusting the resonance frequency. The remaining hull plates flickered, shifting through several colors. Then they solidified, locking together with a harmony that had not existed before. The alarms quieted. Hull stable, Marcus reported, disbelief in his voice. Actually, hull integrity is better than before. The phase metal has synchronized. It needed stress to find its proper configuration, Yuki explained. Think of it like muscles. You cannot know their strength until you push them. Can we continue? Sarah asked. Only one way to find out. Main engines ahead slow, the Drexel propulsion units ignited, power flowed through alien conduits never designed to work together. The ship moved forward, accelerating into the black. The vibrations Marcus had worried about started immediately, but the A compensated, adjusting thrust vectors on the fly. They flew for 10 minutes, just a simple cruise through empty space, but it worked. Icarus Rising flew. Then they tried the jump drive, calculating coordinates. Jin announced, simple short jump. 1 million kilometers should be easy. Should be. Marcus echoed. That phrase makes me nervous. Jump in 3, 2, 1. Mark. The universe twisted. Sarah felt it through the neural interface. Space folded wrong. The jump drive, cobbled together from Talaxian components and Valorian field generators, was supposed to create a smooth transition through subspace. Instead, it ripped a hole in reality and threw them through it like a cannonball. The jump took 2 seconds. It felt like hours when normal space reasserted itself. Every crew member was screaming. What was that? Dimitri gasped. That was our jump drive working exactly as poorly as I expected, Marcus said. The Talaxian and Valorian components are fighting each other. The transition was violent but effective. We traveled the distance successfully. Can you smooth it out? Not without rebuilding the entire system, which we do not have time for. So every jump will feel like being shot from a cannon through broken glass. Essentially, yes. Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead, added to the list of problems we will fix later. Right now, we need to test weapons and shields. Dimitri, target that piece of debris at coordinates 227. A chunk of old satellite wreckage drifted in their path. Dimitri locked weapons onto it. Valorian plasma cannons ready, firing in 3, 2, 1. The ship shuddered as twin plasma bolts erupted from the forward arrays. They were supposed to be steady streams. Instead, they came out as violent pulses, overcharged and unstable. They hit the debris and vaporized it completely, along with several other pieces of wreckage that happened to be nearby. Well, Dimitri said into the stunned silence. That worked. That was 3 times the power output of a standard council plasma weapon, Marcus said, studying the readings. But we burned out the primary Capacitors, we only have 6 shots before we need to swap in fresh. Components, 6 extremely powerful shots, Dimitri. Corrected, that is enough to ruin anyone's day. They tested the shields next, Jin. Activated the Kryn biointerface system, routing the controls through the human compatible neural bridge she had designed. The shield snapped into place around the ship, shimmering in blue. Standard Kryn shields, Jin explained. Now watch this. She pushed power through the system, overcharging it beyond safety limits. The shields pulsed, changing color from blue to green to gold. They thickened, solidified, became something more than standard defensive screens. Adaptive shielding, Jin said with satisfaction. The AI is modulating the frequency in real time. We can shift our defensive spectrum to counter whatever is shooting at us. 1 second, we are strong against plasma. The next against kinetic weapons. The next against particle beams. No council ship can do that because it is incredibly dangerous, Marcus pointed out. If the AI makes a wrong calculation, the shields collapse completely. Then we better trust the AI, spoken like someone who has never been in combat. But Sarah was not listening. She was feeling the ship through the neural interface, feeling how all the broken, incompatible pieces were working together despite their fundamental conflicts. The ship should not function by every law of engineering and physics. It should tear itself apart, but Yuki's AI was the glue, the translator, the conductor of this chaotic orchestra. Commander, Yuki said quietly, I need to tell you something about the neural interface. What about it? The phase metal needs organic input to stabilize properly. The AI can manage most systems, but the phase metal responds to direct biological thought patterns, specifically human thought patterns. Meaning someone needs to be neurally linked to the ship during combat, and not just linked, fully integrated. They will need to think at the ship's speed, process information faster than any human should be able to. It will be overwhelming, possibly dangerous. Sarah understood. You are saying the ship needs a pilot, not a pilot. A partner, someone who can merge with the systems and guide the chaos. Yuki met her eyes. It should be you. You are the commander. You understand the ship better than anyone except Marcus, and Marcus needs to be free to handle engineering emergencies. What are the risks? Neural burn, sensory overload, possible permanent damage if you stay connected too long. The human brain is not designed to process information at the speed the ship operates. Sarah thought about Arcturus 6. About 12,000 people waiting for rescue that would not come in time. About the Council fleet that was 3 days away. About humanity's place in the galaxy and whether it would ever change. Show me how to link in, she said. The next 5 days were brutal. Sarah spent every waking hour in the neural interface learning to think at machine speed. At first it was agony. Information flooded her mind faster than she could process it. Ship systems, power flows, structural stress points, everything at once in a cascade that threatened to drown her consciousness. But humans adapt. That is what they do. That is what makes them dangerous. By the 3rd day, she could manage basic functions without thinking. By the 5th day, she and the ship were moving as one. She thought about shields, and they adjusted. She considered weapons, and they charged. She wondered about propulsion and the engines responded before she finished. The thought, "You are getting too good at that," Marcus said, watching her from engineering. "It is unsettling." "How so?" "You're not moving like a person anymore. You are moving like the ship itself. You're timing your reactions, even the way you breathe. You are synchronized with alien systems that should be killing you." "Is that a problem?" "I do not know yet. Ask me after the first real battle." The intelligence came through on the 6th day. The Kryn swarm had accelerated their attack schedule. They would reach Arcturus 6 in 8 hours. The colony had maybe 10 hours before total annihilation. The Council fleet was still 2 days out. Sarah called the crew to the bridge. "This is it. This is what we built this ship for. Not for tests, not for approval, for this. 12,000 people are going to die unless we do something impossible. The ship is not ready," Marcus said. "We have not completed half the safety checks. The weapons are unstable. The jump drive is violent. The shields are experimental. We are basically flying a bomb that might go off at any moment. I know we could die. I know that too, and we are going to do it anyway." Sarah looked around the bridge, at Marcus with his oil-stained hands, at Jin with her reckless grin, at Dimitri and his love of dangerous weapons, at Yuki and her impossible AI, at every single crew member who had spent a year building something that should not exist. "We are human," Sarah said. "Doing impossible things is what we do. Everyone strap in, plot a course for Arcturus 6. Let us go introduce the galaxy to Earth's first real warship. It has a name," Marcus said quietly. "We should use it." Sarah smiled. "You are right. Icarus rising, prepare for combat jump. All hands to battle stations, let us fly." Toward they came out of jump space. Like a meteor, the violent transition threw everyone against their restraints. But they were alive and they were here. Arcturus 6 hung before them. Blue-green world with white clouds and one small continent. Beautiful. Peaceful. Under siege. The Kryn bioships surrounded the planet like a swarm of insects. 47 contacts on sensors, each one was alive in ways that made human ships seem dead by comparison. They pulsed with bioluminescence, their hulls made from grown organic materials, their weapons biological rather than mechanical. They were besieging the colony's orbital platforms, systematically destroying the defenses. "They have not noticed us yet," Jin reported from sensors. "They are focused on the colony." "Good, gives us time to think." Sarah was fully connected to the neural interface now, feeling the ship around her like a second skin. Every system, every weapon, every strength and weakness. Tactical analysis. 47 vessels, Dimitri said, ranging from cruiser class to destroyer class. They use acid-based weapons and biological boarding pods. Their hulls regenerate damage over time. Standard Council tactics are to wear them down slowly while avoiding direct engagement. We do not have time for standard tactics, and we have exactly one ship. One very unusual ship, Marcus added. They have never seen anything like us before. That is our advantage. Sarah thought about it through the neural link, processing possibilities at machine speed. The Kryn swarm operated on hive logic. They attacked in coordinated patterns, overwhelming defenses through sheer numbers. They expected enemies to fight defensively. To retreat to try to outlast their assault. What if she did the opposite? New plan. Sarah announced, "We attack." Marcus's voice went up an octave. "Did you say attack them, all 47 of them? That is the plan. That is suicide, that is human." Sarah's hands moved over controls before her conscious mind finished the thought. The neural link accelerating her reactions. They have never fought a ship like ours. Let us use that. Gen shields to maximum. Dimitri charged. All weapons. Marcus, I need every bit of power you can give me. You have got it. Marcus said, also you are insane. Noted, engaging. Icarus rising dove toward the Kryn swarm. The bioships noticed, immediately turning with organic grace. To face this new threat, 12 of them broke off from the attack on the colony. Moving to intercept, they are trying to surround us, Jin warned. Classic Kryn tactic, they will use coordinated strikes from multiple angles, then we will not be where they think we are. Activating phase shift, Sarah pushed power through the phase metal hull. The Fadak had never figured out what their decorative metal could really do, but Sarah knew. The hull flickered, became translucent, shifted partially out of normal space. The first wave of Kryn acid passed through the ship like it was not there. Impossible, Jin gasped. The phase shift is holding. We are partially intangible, only for a few seconds, Yuki warned. The power requirements are enormous. We cannot maintain this for long. Don't need long, just need them confused. Sarah brought the ship back into normal space, directly in the middle of the Kryn formation. Dimitri, fire everything. The Valorian plasma cannons erupted, not steady stream, violent pulses of overcharged energy, 6 shots one after another, each one burning out capacitors but hitting with 3 times the expected force. 3 Kryn bioships simply ceased to exist, vaporized before they could react. 2 more were crippled, their organic hulls burning. 5 down, Dimitri yelled, swapping to backup weapons. The remaining 7 ships in the immediate area returned fire, acid projectiles and biological spines hammered against Icarus risings shields. The shield harmonic shifted, adapting changing frequencies to counter the attacks. Jin's adaptive shielding was working but barely. Shield stress at 70%, Jin reported. We cannot take many more hits, then we don't get hit. Hold on. Sarah threw the ship into a roll that no council vessel could have managed. The incompatible propulsion systems, the unbalanced design, all the things that should have made Icarus rising clumsy, instead made it unpredictable. She dove under a bioship. Strike came up firing, destroyed it with a particle beam from the Drexel weapons array. 6 down. The rest of the Kryn swarm was reacting now. 35 ships turned toward them, abandoning the attack on the colony. Good, that was what Sarah wanted. Keep their attention. Keep them focused on the weird human ship instead of the defenseless colonists. They are forming up, Jin said. Coordinated assault pattern. They are going to hit us from all sides at once. Marcus, can we do another phase shift? Not yet. The capacitors need another 30 seconds to recharge. We do not have 30 seconds. Then you better think of something else. Sarah's mind raced, processing tactical data through the neural link faster than any human should be able to think. The Kryn ships were moving into position. In 10 seconds they would fire. In 15 seconds, Icarus Rising would be torn apart by concentrated weapons fire from dozens of directions at once. Unless Yuki the jump drive. Violent transition. Can we do a micro jump? What? No. The calculations alone would take minutes. The AI can calculate faster. Can we jump a short distance, 1 km? That is insane. Micro jumps are unstable. We could end up inside a planet or scattered across 10 light years. Can you do it? Yuki's fingers flew across her console. The AI says, maybe, possibly, probably not, but we might survive. Good enough. Calculating jump point now. Sarah fed the coordinates directly through the neural link, 1 km toward the planet right behind the main formation. Jumping in 3, 2, 1, space folded wrong. The universe screamed. They appeared behind the Kryn swarm, and for one perfect moment the enemy had no idea where they were. Every bioship was aimed at where Icarus Rising had been, not where it was now. Sarah did not waste the moment. All weapons concentrated fire on the largest ship. Now every weapon system on Icarus Rising fired at once. Plasma particle beams, kinetic projectiles, everything. The massive Kryn command ship, the Queen vessel coordinating the entire swarm, took the full barrage. Its organic hull bubbled and burned. It tried to regenerate, tried to heal, but there was too much damage too fast. It died, and with it the swarm coordination died. The remaining Kryn ships scattered, their hive mind disrupted by the loss of their leader. Some continued attacking. Others tried to flee. The organized assault became chaos. Target of opportunity, Dmitri called out already, swinging weapons toward another ship. They are confused. We can take more of them. They did. Sarah flew the ship on instinct and neural impulse faster than conscious thought, phase shifting to avoid attacks, micro jumping to impossible positions, overcharging weapons beyond safety limits. The tactics made no sense by council standards. They were aggressive, risky, fundamentally unsound. They were human. 8 more Kryn ships died before Sarah realized they were winning. Not just surviving, actually winning. The swarm was breaking apart, losing cohesion. Ships were fleeing into jump space, abandoning the attack. Shields at 20%, Jin warned. We are almost done. So are they. Keep firing. 2 more ships destroyed. Then 3 more fled. The remaining Kryn vessels, seeing the battle was lost, chose survival over victory. They jumped away one by one, leaving their dead floating in space around Arcturus 6. Then it was over. Silence filled the bridge. Every crew member stared at their displays, not quite believing what had just happened. 1 human ship, 1 impossible jury-rigged, shouldn't even function warship had just defeated 47 Kryn bioships. Did we just do that? Marcus asked quietly. Status report, Sarah said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline flooding her system. Damage, shields collapsed, Jin reported. Hull integrity at 60%. Multiple systems burned out, half hour. Weapons are offline. We are leaking coolant from 3 different sections. Casualties, minor injuries only. No fatalities. Then we won. Sarah started to smile. Then the neural burn hit her. Pain exploded through her skull. She had been connected to the ship for too long, processing information too fast, thinking at speeds the human brain was never designed to Reach, the price came due all at once. She screamed. Commander Marcus was out of his seat, running toward her. Someone cut the neural link, now. Hands fumbled at the connectors on the back of her neck. The interface disconnected, the ship's presence in her mind vanished. She was alone in her own head again, and it felt like falling. Sarah slumped in her chair, barely conscious. Her last thought before the darkness took her was that they had done it. Against every odd, against every reasonable expectation, they had saved Arcturus 6. They had proven that humanity belonged. And somewhere the Galactic Council was about to learn that giving humans scrap metal and expecting gratitude had been a terrible mistake. When Sarah woke up, Marcus was there. They were in the medical bay, such as it was, a cramped room with human and alien medical equipment mixed together in another impossible combination. How long, she asked. 6 hours. The doctors say you should be fine. Neural burn but no permanent damage. Marcus smiled. You scared us. Sorry. How is the ship? Dead in space. Every major system needs repair or replacement. We are. The summons came 3 days later. Commander Sarah Chen and the entire crew of Icarus Rising were to appear before the Galactic Council immediately to answer for their actions at Arcturus 6. The wording was careful. Not a request, not an invitation, a command. Sarah read the message twice, then showed it to Marcus. They were still on the damaged ship, making repairs where they could, waiting for the inevitable reckoning. They are going to shut us down, Marcus said. They have to. We just prove that humans can take their technology and make it better. Every species on the council is going to be terrified. Good. Fear means respect. Fear means danger. They might decide we are too threatening to allow to continue. Sarah looked around the medical bay at the mixture of human and alien technology that was keeping them alive, at the ship that should not exist, at the proof that humanity did not need the Council's permission to be great. Then we give them a choice, she said. Acknowledge us as equals or watch as we make them irrelevant. The Council chamber was enormous, built to accommodate representatives from 50 different species. It hung in neutral space, a station so large it had its own gravity and weather systems. Sarah and her senior crew, Marcus, Jin, Dimitri, and Yuki, walked through corridors lined with artwork from 100 worlds toward the central hearing room. Ambassador Thexner was waiting outside the chamber. His forearms were folded in a posture Sarah had learned meant disapproval. His expression was carefully neutral, but his eyes burned with anger. Commander Chen, he said, you have caused quite a disturbance. We saved 12,000 lives. Sarah replied, I would do it again. You revealed unauthorized military technology. You deployed an unregistered warship. You engaged combat operations without council approval. Any one of these violations could result in humanity's expulsion from the council, and yet here we are, being summoned rather than arrested. That tells me the council is conflicted. Thexner's expression flickered. The council is many things, Commander. Conflicted is one of them. Angry is another. You have disrupted a balance that has existed for centuries. There will be consequences. I look forward to them. The chamber doors opened. Inside, 50 species waited in a circular arrangement, each delegation seated in their designated area. The lighting was calculated to be comfortable for every species' visual spectrum. The air was carefully balanced for every type of respiratory system. Everything about the space said power, permanence, tradition. Sarah walked to the center of the circle and waited. The High Arbiter, a Talaxian with blue, crystalline skin, spoke first. Her voice was amplified through the Chamber's translation system. Commander Sarah Chen of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to answer for recent unauthorized actions. How do you plead? Guilty, Sarah said simply. We built an unauthorized warship. We deployed it without permission. We engaged in combat to save lives. I am guilty of all of it, and I would do it again. Murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. The High Arbiter's crystalline face shifted color, showing surprise. You admit your violations? Freely, I do, because they were not violations of any law that matters. The real law is this: when innocent people need help, you help them. Everything else is politics. You are human, Texnor said from his delegation's position. You do not understand galactic politics. The Council provides aid and technology to developing species according to carefully calculated schedules. These schedules exist for good reasons: to prevent dangerous technologies from falling into unprepared hands, to maintain stability, to ensure peace, to maintain control, Sarah countered, to keep species like mine dependent and grateful, to make sure no one threatens the established order. She turned slowly, addressing the entire chamber. 15 years ago, humanity joined the Galactic Council as a third-tier species. We are still a third-tier species. Nothing has changed. We are given scraps and told to be thankful when we need help. We are told it is not your jurisdiction, but when we prove we can help ourselves, suddenly there are rules we violated. You endangered yourselves, a Kethrian delegate said. The technology you deployed was unstable, dangerous, untested. It saved 12,000 lives, Marcus spoke up. That is pretty good testing. You built a weapon from components of 6 different species, another delegate said. This one was photic, shimmering and translucent. No species has successfully integrated multiple alien technologies at that level. It should have been impossible. Should have been, Yuki agreed, by your engineering standards. But human engineering is different. We do not wait for permission. We do not follow the rules that say things are impossible. We improvise. We adapt. We overcome. You took photic phase metal, the photic delegate continued, and used it in ways we never imagined. You discovered capabilities in our own technology that we did not know existed. That is because you used it for decoration, Chen said. You saw pretty metal and never looked deeper. We saw potential and asked what if. That is the difference between species that follow rules and species that make new ones. The High Arbiter raised one crystalline hand for silence. The question before this council is not whether humans are clever. We acknowledge your resourcefulness. The question is whether you are dangerous, whether allowing you to continue developing hybrid technologies threatens galactic stability, threatens your control. You mean? Sarah said. Let me ask a different question. How many species on this council could have saved Arcturus 6 in time? Your fleet was 3 days away. 12,000 Humans would have died. We were 6 hours away. We acted, we saved them, and now you want to punish us for it because we did not ask permission first. You do not understand what you have started. Tex Nor said, if other species learn that human engineering can combine their technologies, if the specifications for your hybrid ship become public, then every species in the galaxy will be able to build better ships. Sarah interrupted. Is that what terrifies you? That other developing species might stop being dependent on council charity? The chamber erupted. Delegates argued with each other in a dozen languages. Some called for humanity's immediate expulsion. Others defended their actions. The neat political balance that had existed for centuries was cracking, and everyone could feel it. The High Arbiter called for order. It took several minutes to restore quiet. Commander Chen, the Arbiter, said finally, you have put the Council in an impossible position. We cannot allow unregulated military development, but we also cannot ignore that your actions saved lives when Council forces were too distant to help. We require time to deliberate. This hearing is recessed. No, Sarah said. The chamber went silent. Delegates stared at her. The High Arbiter's crystalline face shifted to a dark, dangerous purple. What did you say? I said no more deliberations, no more committees, no more waiting for the Council to decide what humanity deserves. Sarah pulled a data chip from her pocket and held it up. This contains complete specifications for Icarus Rising, every system, every integration technique, every innovation we developed. I am going to do something with this chip in the next 10 minutes. What I do depends on you. Is that a threat? Tex Nor demanded. It is a choice. Option 1. The Council acknowledges humanity as a second-tier species with full shipbuilding rights, equal technology, access, and a vote in Council matters. In exchange, we share our integration techniques with all Council species through proper channels. And Option 2, I release these specifications publicly. Right now, every species in the galaxy, Council members and non-members alike, gets access to hybrid ship technology. The developing species you have been keeping dependent suddenly have the ability to build warships that rival your fleets. The entire power structure of galactic civilization changes overnight. The chamber exploded again. Delegates were on their feet shouting. Threats and counteroffers filled the air. The High Arbiter called for order, but no one was listening. Then they Photic delegates stood. The entire Photic delegation stood. Their translucent forms shimmered with decision. Enough, the Photic delegate said, his voice cutting through the chaos. We have heard enough. The humans have proven something we did not want to believe. They saw value where we saw waste. They found potential where we saw limits. They saved lives while we followed procedures. He turned to face Sarah directly. The Photic delegation votes to recognize humanity as a second-tier species. More silence. Then the Drexel delegate stood. The Drexel delegation agrees. These humans deserve recognition. One by one, other delegations stood. Not all of them. Tex Nor and the Valorian delegation remained seated, furious. The Cathrian stayed seated. Several others refused to move, but enough stood. Enough agreed. The High Arbiter watched the chamber for a long moment, then her crystalline face shifting to a Resigned blue, she spoke. By vote of this council, humanity is hereby recognized as a second-tier species with all associated rights and privileges. Shipbuilding restrictions are lifted. Technology access is granted. This is the decision of the council. Sarah lowered the data chip. Around her, the crew let out breaths they had been holding. Marcus was grinning. Jin looked ready to cry. Dimitri and Yuki just looked stunned.